The Allbirds Tree Pipers are an excellent everyday shoe. They're comfortable and versatile. You can wear them out to dinner, to work, or while running errands. They're also a pretty sustainable choice, too. Allbirds has crafted these shoes from recycled materials, merino wool, tree fibers, and a sugarcane-based EVA. Allbirds even measures the exact carbon footprint of the Tree Pipers, which they publish publicly. I'm Cory from Grow Ensemble, and in this Buy Ensemble video, where my goal is to help make your people and planet-friendly purchases easier, we'll explain why. With all our Buy Ensemble product reviews, we measure sustainability in 3 ways. First, performance. Does the product serve its intended use? Second, people. What's the product's effect on the people behind the product? And third, planet. What's the product's impact on the planet? You can, of course, learn more about how we define a sustainable product by checking out our previous deep dive video podcast episode on what is a sustainable product. But now let's talk about how the Allbirds Tree Pipers measure up. First, performance. The Tree Pipers are a perfect everyday shoe. They have a casual look, but can be dressed up need be, and they have a timeless sneaker look to them. These are extremely versatile shoes. They can look good with anything as long as they're clean, pants, shorts, whatever. You can wear socks or not, totally up to you. For me, I've worn my Tree Pipers while running errands, going out to coffee meetings, going to dinner, or on travel days. I've worn them for anything classified as day-to-day. And even for a couple of recent trips, I packed my Tree Pipers in an option for working out and nothing else. Great travel shoes when the weather is warmer and dry. They are lightweight and breathable, and I live in Texas, so I spend most of my time in warmer climates. So for me, that's ideal. If you live in a colder climate, you might alternatively check out the Allbirds' Wool Pipers, men's or women's. One drawback to the breathability would be the ability to wear these Allbirds in wet weather, or cold weather for that matter. Your feet will get soaked, and with the breathability, the cold is easily felt. So these need to remain as fair weather shoes only. As well, most Allbirds casual styles have very little tread on them. And the Tree Pipers are no different. And as the tread wears with time, I'd be especially cautious to wear these when it's wet out or cold and icy. Again, for these shoes, fair weather is best. So far, I've had these Tree Pipers for about a year, and there's no noticeable wear to report, although they could be a bit cleaner. Since I chose the Luna color scheme, I've picked up a few more scuffs and dirt that is a bit more noticeable. I imagine if you chose a darker color yourself, it wouldn't be as obvious. But most of the time, the scuffs will just wipe right off. And if your Tree Pipers get even a little too dirty for your liking, you can always wash them, like any other Allbirds style. To machine wash the Tree Pipers, along with other Allbirds styles, you need to take out the laces and the insoles, put the shoes in maybe a delicates bag. Allbirds says that a pillowcase even works, and then wash on a gentle cycle with cold water and then air dry. Pretty simple. So these shoes were really snug when I bought them and required a brief break-in period. I found that my Tree Pipers adjusted maybe after just 2 or 3 wears. I do like to buy my Allbirds tight because they always stretch out a little bit. It's really soft, flexible fabric, but a snug buy for me means a perfect long-term fit. So this is more of my preference. I have smaller, narrow feet, so I've never met the men's sizing in Allbirds shoes of any size or any style, so I opt for the women's size 8. As Allbirds shoes are unisex, it's no problem for me. Some customers describe these shoes as too narrow for their feet. If you need a wider fit, that is something to consider. But if this would be your first pair of Allbirds, I recommend finding what your European size is and crossing that with Allbirds. This is how I came to find the perfect size for me. The Allbirds Tree Pipers are only available in whole sizes. This can be a little frustrating if you need something in between. The Allbirds Tree Pipers are extremely comfortable shoes that I've worn all day long. The merino wool insoles provide good arch support, and the shoes hug your feet, really, in a good way. I don't have flat feet myself, but for Allbirds customers who do, the majority find the Tree Pipers have adequate support and cushion. Again, the insole made from castor bean oil and merino wool, a merino wool topper, makes for a supportive, comfy fit. And if you need more or less arch support or have inserts of your own that you prefer, removing the insoles isn't a problem at all. They just come right out. Allbirds long ago made the pitch that their shoe line offered the most comfortable shoe. I've tended to agree. The Tree Pipers likewise live up to that brand claim. So whether you're looking for a travel shoe to explore a new city or versatile shoe to wear to work and then out to dinner, I think the Allbirds Tree Pipers have you covered. Allbirds is extremely transparent about the environmental impact the Tree Pipers and their many other styles of shoes have on the planet. They even measure and share the exact carbon footprint, which I've already mentioned. Of course, I can appreciate this, yet I don't see the same level of detail on the labor or people side. The Allbirds factory map leaves much to be desired, and while it's a start, there's not enough transparency into where and how an Allbirds shoe is made and who touches it along the way to your foot, at least easily accessible means to do so. However, if you dig a bit deeper, you can find a published PDF of their factory partners with name, addresses, and a lot of other information. I think Allbirds is on their way here. I would just like them to be a bit more front and center with this information and bring it to life in a similar fashion as they do their environmental subject matter. So we have to assume labor practices are reasonable. Codes of conduct, schedule audits, and evaluations, while extremely important, essential, and a very valuable signal, feel to be a bit too corporate for me. I'd love to see Allbirds be more personal, break through the jargon, and be direct with their communication around their supply chain and all the people impacted by their business operations. They've done an excellent job with this as it relates to the environmental. They have spokespeople, they have really kind of cute and clever cartoons for their various materials. The information is extensive and it's communicated in a fashion that it's made to be very accessible and approachable. I don't see that yet for how it relates to Allbirds and the people who are affected by their business's operations. The fact that the way people are treated throughout their business isn't communicated in a similar fashion feels a bit suspect, or that they have some work to do. I hate to assume the worst, but that's business, baby. I've said this countless times here. Crimes of businesses past and present means we must assume the worst for ensuring that those with the least power and voice throughout the global marketplace are protected and advocated for. We must verify first. Trust comes much, much later. On to planet. The Allbirds Tree Piper shoes are made of many more sustainable natural materials. That includes eucalyptus tree fiber, sugarcane-based green ethylene vinyl acetate, EVA, recycled plastic bottles, shoelaces, castor bean oil-based insole foam. Allbirds boasts the impacts of these materials as far lower than what would be typical. I'm no materials expert, but apparently tree fiber, which is Forest Stewardship Council certified, consumes 95% less water than conventionally grown cotton. That's phenomenal. As well, Allbirds claims that sugarcane-based green EVA is completely renewable. So Allbirds has been very big on their carbon footprint labeling, which on one side feels very progressive. We're getting consumers to be more aware of the impacts of their purchases. On the other side, since the carbon footprint was originally pioneered by advertising professionals paid by British Petroleum to abdicate responsibility for the business's planetary impacts of fossil fuels, to abdicate that responsibility onto consumers, I'm skeptical of this approach. Not to mention, and I go into this in much greater detail elsewhere, but Allbirds is boldly transparent about their per product carbon footprint. In their sustainability reports, which they call their flight status reports, they've continuously put front and center their progress on their per product carbon footprint, without much acknowledgement towards the greater impacts of the entire business. So in 2021, for example, they were actually willing to share the figures on their total carbon emissions, which had grown between 2020 and 2021. This was given one page of the report, where the remaining 95% or so was dedicated to their per product emissions. In 2022, they refrained from including any information about their total carbon footprint at all. This to me feels like Allbirds is just telling their favorite parts of their sustainability story, not the whole story. They need to be more courageous than that. Allbirds shoes come and ship, if you order shoes individually, in a 90% post-consumer recycled box. As for the end of life, Allbirds has launched Allbirds Rerun, which allows customers to trade in their lightly used Allbirds for a $20 Allbirds credit. Shoes are then resold online at Allbirds Rerun. Shoes in worse shape can still be given back to Allbirds, and they'll determine how to best process them either through donation or other means to recycle. However, this is only available at certain Allbirds retail locations. At the time of this recording, Allbirds only listed 3 participating retail locations, one in California, another in New York, and a third in Illinois. So I wouldn't consider this a real end-of-life solution yet, and I believe Allbirds, a company claiming to be reversing climate change through better business, should really be doing better than this, especially considering other companies have gone further than they have. So, all things considered together, should you buy the Allbirds Tree Pipers? You know, yes, I think if you're looking for a comfortable and versatile shoe, the Allbirds Tree Pipers are really a great option. They are near perfect day-to-day sneakers for warmer weather. I likewise believe it's a purchase you can feel reasonably comfortable with, you know, although there are certainly things Allbirds could do better. As a brand, they focus strongly on that per product carbon footprint. You know, on one hand, this gets you and me as consumers more involved around the conversation of the impact of each and every purchase. On the other hand, it seems to distract or draw attention away from Allbirds' complete carbon footprint as a business. As mentioned, the discrepancies between what they reported in 2021 and 2022 seems a little strange. And philosophically, I definitely don't agree with that. Also, Allbirds needs to be more transparent about the labor side of its operations. They've made progress, but I want confirmation that workers are being paid a living wage. Codes of conduct aren't enough. Frankly, much of the very corporate language around third-party auditing and evaluation criteria aren't enough either. If they were, then the fashion industry would look very different because they all have these codes of conduct for the most part, and even still, workers across the globe are being exploited. What I'm really looking for is very proactive, plain-spoken transparency. Don't make it hard for me to understand. Don't make me make assumptions. I want brands to be more front and center with how workers are treated throughout their supply chain. I think brands doing a better job of this in footwear anyways are Veja, Nisolo, and maybe Vivo Barefoot. In Allbirds' most recent flight status report from 2022, they say one of their 11 partner factories received an orange rating, which is their own criteria, orange, yellow, or green. But they weren't specific on disclosing for what reason that particular factory was at risk of not meeting their standards. They are claiming it a success that they are getting more data from their supplying factories. And yes, that's good. But perhaps my standards are a little bit higher, wishing that brands would seek to first do their due diligence before establishing and scaling their supply chains from the get-go, versus gathering more information on the ethical and environmental standards that are kept over time. Again, I don't personally believe the payoff of Allbirds' growth and scale is worth risking any degree of exploitation or excessive environmental degradation. But the folks in charge at Allbirds and many other companies do seem to be okay with risking that for their own personal gain. Allbirds seeks to be a leader in the category of sustainable business. They've made very bold and ambitious claims, and I admire the work that they are doing with their materials, but I don't believe that I necessarily agree with their theory of change. Not to mention, an incredible amount of pressure on Allbirds seems to be mounting. Fast Company called Allbirds a zombie brand, suggesting that the business is unsustainable without the massive amounts of VC money that they've taken. And as well, after going public in 2021, Allbirds share prices tanked. They opened soon trading around $21. I saw today, right before I recorded this video, that you could buy a share from Allbirds at 96 cents. This is early 2024. So you can't tell me that there's not massive pressure to shift the business brewing. How this affects their many stated commitments, reversing climate change and being a better business, is worth keeping a very close eye on. But in a growth at all costs culture, of which Allbirds' leadership has chosen to participate in, the standard and expectation is to grow and grow very fast. That certainly does not excuse their choices. It was their choice, but it might explain what's most important as we all think about changing businesses' culture versus changing and putting our hopes in individual players like Allbirds. all things considered together, given the outlook of the marketplace of footwear, I'm happy to recommend these shoes and Allbirds generally, although there might be other more sustainable players I'd seek to spend my money with moving forward. The brands like Nisolo, Veja, and Vivo Barefoot, who are doing some really exceptional things. It's a balance of comparing an Allbirds to the conventional footwear landscape. It's another to see how they stack up in an attempt to define what's sustainable and who is leading the charge for making business better. At least at the moment of this recording, you can get these Tree Pipers for $85 on allbirds.com or find an Allbirds store near you. For additional everyday or casual sustainable sneaker options, consider checking out Veja, Vivo Barefoot, or Nisolo. I'm sure there's many other brands that folks may want to suggest with a comment below. These brands offer a variety of sneaker options for everyday wear. If you aren't convinced that the Tree Pipers are for you, I'm sure you'll find something also with those alternatives. And once more, if you do decide to shop with Allbirds online or one of our other recommended alternatives and use one of the links listed in the description below, we do receive a small commission at no extra cost to you, but that commission does help support the production and research of more reviews just like this. Lastly, suppose you enjoyed what you learned in this Grow Ensemble review. In that case, I'd encourage you to sign up for my weekly newsletter, The Weekly Ensemble, where together with social entrepreneurs and change makers from all over the globe, I explore the art of living and working sustainably. To get the next newsletter in your inbox, go to growensemble.com/newsletter. All right, y'all. Until next time.